Hi everyone, Dr. Victoria Skirbo here, speaking to you from the Seeds of Transformation Healing Center in Wareham, Massachusetts. Today is the 12th of August and it is a Wednesday. Yes. And yesterday, on the 11th of August, Joe Biden announced his vice presidential pick, and he picked Kamala, Harris, as his running mate. And I had been pondering that sort of um, in the back of my mind as to who he would pick. And where I felt the most energy was either Kamala or um, Elizabeth Warren. Those were the two that kept sort of coming up for me. But of course, Kamala is much more, um, is a much different energy than Liz Warren. They're both very, very smart, um, very strong women for sure. Liz Warren, much more strident. Kamala Harris kind of reminds me of an iron fist and a velvet glove. You know, she's kind of, her demeanor is very calm. She doesn't get excited. She doesn't get ruffled. Um, she gets angry, but she's not going to necessarily, um, I don't know. Her Mercury is in Scorpio, and she is a Gemini rising. As far as her chart. Now, I have looked at her chart. I've looked at her chart with Joe Biden. I've looked at their composite chart. I've looked at a couple of things, and I am going to share that with you. I'm not going to sort of keep you in suspense about that. I might mention a couple of things today about that, but I will do a separate video with the charts and such and show you what I think from that perspective as well. I just have to see when I can fit that in today. My schedule is busy, and finding time to just do something like that can sometimes be a challenge. One of the reasons why I'm not doing as many readings as I have previously. I do intend to do more readings, so um, sorry about that. I know you guys are. Oops, you guys are waiting. Oops, something fell. I think a couple of cards fell. What do we have here? Oh, that's interesting. We have the King of Cups here, which is Joe Biden, and then we have the dark-haired girl sitting, waiting patiently. Somebody who's made her way through her own effort. So that's definitely Kamala Harris right there, and that's definitely Joe Biden. So that's funny that those two would jump out. That's what we're going to be doing the reading on. And yeah, and thank you, Robin, for this beautiful necklace. It's all my favorite colors, as you can see, and see around me, right? She called me Queen Bee, so she made me a bee necklace. And bees are a symbol of community. And so I'm honored that you think I'm the Queen Bee, and I'm honored that we have a community here. And that's an interactive community, and that it's a community connected to the communities of other readers. So it's a real beautiful network here, and and we need this, right? We need to find the connections. We need to connect with people who vibrate at a similar vibration to us to potentiate our vibration. And so I do endeavor to put positivity out there. And perhaps, with all the dire prognostications out there, it is nice to look at things from a different perspective and see things as opportunities. Um, Many of us have had very challenging periods in our life where we've had to, literally make lemonade out of lemons. Although lemons are pretty cool. I mean, sometimes you have to make stone soup, right? So, because there's nothing. But cooperatively, um, we can get a lot done. Like the story of the stone soup. You probably know it, but I'll just say it. There was a guy who had nothing and he was hungry, so he put water in a pot and he put a stone in it and started cooking the stone. And then somebody came by and said, "Hey, I have a carrot," and he put a carrot in. And somebody came by and said, "I have some onion," and each person put their own little offering, as little as it was, um, in the soup. Eventually somebody came with some meat scraps and put that in the soup, or a chicken and put that in the soup. And so at the end, through all of these people just putting their little bit in, he was able to feed everybody. And all it started was with a stone and water. So we've all had those experiences of having to make stone soup, but through the kindness and the generosity and a sense of commonality, we've been able to create something delicious, right? So, so let's keep up the good work. Um, there are so many great readers out there. I'm so inspired by y'all. I have my favorites, and there are a lot of new readers coming up who don't have a lot of people yet, but they will come up and they will, take their place with with us. I don't know if I'd call myself an old timer, but all right, let's go. Kamala and Biden. Let's do some cards on that selection. Okay. I think we're shuffled up enough. Let me cut the cards. All right. All right. So we have the Eight of Wands. Now, this is a lot of information coming, a lot of energy. So we find ourselves in a position where we've been waiting for this to come, right? So we're waiting. There's all these possibilities, right? And we're sitting there waiting, waiting to find out what exactly is going to come our way, right? Um, and so there's all these ideas, there's all these new ideas, there's all this, and then there's also all this information coming in about Trump and what he's done, and there's a lot of things coming to fruition at this point, or coming to illumination at this point. So there's just so much that sometimes it's hard to sort of focus on one thing, right? On the one thing or the two things. Let's see the crossing card. Okay, so what do you do about it? What do you do about it? It's interesting that this actually looks like Joe Biden trying to make a decision and then sort of finally coming to between two candidates here, two people. Now, I say it's Liz Warren and Kamala, but I don't know. And maybe we'll never know, like, who was the last two. Um, okay, and we have at the root here, we have the High Priestess. So the High Priestess is an energy of secrets, things that are hidden, but it's also a feminine power card. And so the High Priestess is um, is an energy of knowing something, but not necessarily saying something. She's connected to the moon. She's very high up on the tree of life, so she holds a very high position. But there's this sense of knowingness. There's this sense of being very intuitive, very smart, very on the ball, right? But not necessarily giving it all away. This is not somebody who's going to just write what they know. They're gonna hold back some things. So I think that there is some things that we are not aware of yet, and I don't feel like it's necessarily about Kamala Harris or Joe Biden. I think there are things that are still sort of simmering underneath that will probably have a big bearing on certainly what's to come. All right, let's see what's in the past. All right. So we have this sense, oh, well, this is, these look like they're Joe Biden cards, right? This is Joe in his basement doing his little videos, right? Feeling like he is in prison, right? So that is the past, not wanting to make the wrong decision, actually not acting sometimes because um, every action was so sort of looked at with a microscope that I think there was this sort of holding back and a need to be very careful about the way he moved forward and the way he spoke. Okay. So in the sky, we have the Lover's card. So this is the decision. This is decision to make, to be in a relationship with somebody, and in a way, this president, vice president energy is very much like marriage. Certainly, that was true of Barack Obama and Joe Biden, right? There was a marriage there. There was a marriage, a combining of two sort of people. Now, what's interesting about Kamala is that she does have similar energy to Barack Obama in that she's sort of like a dual. Well, she's her mother is Indian and her father is Jamaican, right? So she is the daughter of immigrants, but there's this sort of uh, there's the like white mother, black father kind of thing. Because if I remember my learning in school, which was very, very long ago, so it may be changed now. But I think Indians from India were considered Caucasian. In when I remember learning about race, that Indians were Caucasians. Um, Not that that's necessarily like a thing for me, or but there is this sort of balance, there's this sort of sense of, and there's this like quiet strength, and speaking, when they speak they say something, so there's a commonality here, and I believe that they both have a 27-9 soul vibration, which is the Ace of Wands. So there's a familiarity with Kamala and him, and so I think actually they're better together, and Joe Biden is certainly better having her by his side. And never been a giant fan of Joe Biden being president. Of course, most people who have followed my channel for a long time know that um, I love Bernie Sanders, and I'm a progressive politically. But I'm also, you also have to be a pragmatist, and not everybody's ready for revolution. Although once whoever gets in, um, there is going to be a revolution. So one way or the other, we're having a revolution. The question is it going to be, a Trump style revolution, or is it going to be a trying to get the Democrats to move on things that they absolutely have to move on? And I think that is, and those fights, if the Democrats do win the presidency, those fights are going to be within the Congress and the Senate. Those are going to be like, between the more between the Republicans and the corporatist Democrats, which will take one side, and then the more progressive side of the Democratic Party. So it's going to be very interesting um, when the Democrats do get in. If Trump happens to win, which I personally don't know how he could, but he could cheat, and stranger things have happened, right? So we'll have to wait and see. But if he gets in, well, first of all, if he gets in, I think that I think the Senate the Senate and the House is going to be Democrat. I think they're going to take both parts of that. And if Trump does get in and is president, I think they'll impeach him right away and get rid of him. I don't think there's any way they're going to keep him unless they keep him there as sort of fodder. Um, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. So let's talk about this reading. Sorry, I went off on a tangent. The immediate future. Okay, we have the Three of Swords. Um, this is heartbreak, betrayal. This is a tough card. This is a tough card. So, um, I feel as though maybe something is going to come out that's going to create, like, this seems like a perfect partnership, but there's going to be attacks and they're going to try to split these two up in some way. Um, and it's very well that it could create a lot of pain and suffering for both of them. But the Three of Swords is also a card of freedom. So in a way, whatever happens, and again, it's not going to be a necessarily positive thing. It's going to be quite painful. But on some level, I feel it's going to free them to be more uh, aggressive, perhaps, or just more like, um, one of the things that Donald Trump has been able to do is just, throw caution to the wind. I don't care what you think or what you say. This is my reality. I'm going to create it as I go. And of course, he had the support of the Republicans. So he pretty much, just got to pretty much do what the hell he wanted, no matter how many bodies there were, or how many people suffered, or, how many people are dying now. The Republicans were like all behind him. The Democrats are much more careful. They're much to an extent, right, that it gets in their way, right? They what is it, like, all democratic firing squads are like in a circle or something, and they're always willing to, like, oust out one of their own for higher value, like they did with um Al Franken, right? That was a real shame. Um, but like they do stuff like that. I think they need to be a little bit more aggressive. They need to be willing to make mistakes. They need to be willing to, and not just make mistakes, because they make a lot of mistakes, but say, hey, look, that maybe wasn't the greatest thing, but we're going to forward anyway, right? So there's this, like, they have this sense of moral, like, moral higher ground, that they're above this stuff. This is politics. This is like, getting in the mud pit with somebody, and Trump is really good at it. It's why he's so successful, and why the Democrats are not, because they don't know how to fight. This might bring out the fight in the Democrats. That's what that whole thing I just said, right? That might bring the fight out in the Democrats. How it's seen from the outside. We have the Knight of Swords. Interesting. So there's going to be something coming. There's going to be a lot of attacks. They're going to start to attack right away. Um, Kamala doesn't have, you know, you can't do what she does, and be a prosecutor, and then be the attorney general, I think it was, California, and then be a senator, and not have some things that you did in the moment that seemed right, that now in future sight seem wrong, right? So why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? Why didn't he do this? Why didn't he do that? You always have to put the decisions within the context, right? And then you have to put the decisions in the fact that there are really no absolutes, right? So like, absolute right, absolute wrong. So anyway, except maybe for Trump, he's absolutely crazy. All right. Domestic situation. Okay, we have the Knight of Pentacles. So this is a sense of slowing things down, starting to plan for the future, starting to plant seeds. This is that whole build better back thing that he talks about. Joe talks about. So that's good. So this combination actually makes people feel a little more financially secure at this point. Like, I feel as though the people of America feel like, well, at least these people are going to be willing to help us instead of just run us over and rob and steal all our money, right? Hopes and fears. Yeah, the Empress. So this is the hope of the feminine rising, and to a certain extent, it is the feminine rising. It is the feminine rising. She has she's a Libra, but she has her moon in Aries, like exact opposition, like full moon baby, right? And Eris is very close to her moon right now. Eris in Aries. Eris is at about, I think, 25 degrees, 24, 25 degrees of Aries. Her moon is at 20, I think 27, 28 degrees of Aries. We'll go over this when I go over her chart. Um, but that's a fighter. She's a fighter, and her sun and moon at 27 or 28, 28, right? 28 of Libra, 28 of Aries is at this point square. Saturn is squaring that in her chart. So Saturn always brings like added responsibility and the need to structure things. And then Pluto's there as well. And in 2022, Pluto is going to be making its conjunction to the Pluto of the United States, which is square her Sun Moon. So she's involved. She's definitely involved in this, probably more so than Joe Biden. So, in a way, this becomes her fight. It's interesting that we have the High Priestess and the Empress in this read because those are the two most powerful feminine cards, feminine sort of ruler. The Empress is the sort of mothering, fecund, pregnant, sort of Garden of Eden energy, and the High Priestess is like the halls of power, um, between the two pillars, balance and such. So, um, um, two very good cards for this pull. Okay, two very good cards. And the outcome, we have the Seven of Swords. Yeah, things are not going to be, these are going to be hard times. It's hard times. So I believe from these cards, it's a good choice, but it's not going to mitigate the shit that they're going to have to go through, quite frankly. And we'll just pull to see if we can get a major arcana. We have the Eight of Pentacles. That's a lot of hard work, a lot of hard work, a lot of repetitive stuff, a lot of repetitive stuff. And the Seven of Wands. I feel like this is building back up the safety nets and the protections for people. For people, yep. And the Two of Cups. Well, that's nice. That's nice. That sort of goes along with the Lover's card. So I feel like so we haven't picked a major arcana, but I'll look underneath the deck. So I feel like there's a lot of challenges here, but um success, but not like success. It's just like really hard fought success. Really hard fought. Okay, great. So underneath it all is the Temperance card. So healing, balance. So this is a healing. Okay. Um yeah, I think this is good, and I have a good feeling for them to work together. They do have to overcome something. Something's coming, and it's coming fast, and it's going to come soon. So we'll hear about it, um, and then we'll see where we get on the other side of that. I think that they can, as I said, um, they can. What's that expression? Wear the storm. They can. Well, I don't know what the expression is, but get through the storm. Weather the storm. Thank you. They'll weather the storm. And on the other side of this, I think it's going to be it's going to be a good thing for us. It's definitely something that we need in this country. We need to get back to some sort of um, sense of balance and stability. And I think that while she's not the most progressive of candidates, I think that she's a pragmatist, and I think I think in her heart of hearts that she really wants to do well for people, that it matters to her. And I think she's had enough life experience being both in positions of power and in a sense of being powerless, as sort of a young mixed race girl growing up in America, that she's been on both sides of the divide there, and I think she's a good bridge for that. And to a certain extent, Biden is also a bridge. They both have this bridge energy. And Biden's been in politics for like 50 years, and you kind of have to be a bridge to be able to do that, because you're bridging different time. I mean, he was there in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s and the 2000s and the 2010s and now the 2020s. So this is a guy who's probably made a lot of concessions, and maybe he doesn't necessarily have a political sort of righteousness like somebody like Bernie Sanders has, right? But he does have compassion, and he has suffered greatly. And I think that, I know for me, when things are really, really hard, I generally like dive into work, and meaningful work to me is a great healer. And I think he's used his work as that for him. And so I think it's a good combination. I'm happy to see it. Quite frankly, I don't think he could have done it without her. I don't think there's any way he could have won unless he had a strong partner in this. And I think she's a good partner. And we'll look at the astrology, because separately they're challenged in their astrology, but together their astrology comes together, and it's a very sort of powerful combination. And isn't it right that, because I look at what happens, right, from like a broader sort of archetypical expression, that, having the man and the woman as equals, because she is not going to be less than him. She's going to be an equal here. Um, and I think that that's part of the feminine rising, and the man and the masculine sort of taking a back step, or taking a step back, and allowing a woman to come in and to sort of balance out the power dynamics, at a time when on the other side of the aisle we have this sort of very, if I might say, penile, single pointed, narcissistic, me energy. And yeah, so I think it's good, guys. I think this is going to be a good thing. We'll see what that Three of Swords is. We're going to find out soon enough. Within the next 6 weeks, I think we're going to know. And we'll see what that's about. But I think that they can weather that storm. And if they have enough chutzpah to just say, hey, look, maybe it wasn't the greatest thing, or maybe this, maybe that. Don't apologize for not being perfect. Just say, hey, things happen, and this is not as important as where we need to be going. Why not? All right, guys. Like and subscribe. I hope you enjoyed that. And I'm going to try to get that astrology stuff out today. I do have a reading today. I'm looking forward to it, Sue. And who, yeah, Camp Sue is a new channel. She's called Camp Sue. I've seen a couple of her videos. She's very wise. And so today we're going to be chit chatting about stuff. But check her out. All right, guys. See you soon. Take care.